Where do you see pearls? In a
Jewelers.
In a oyster.
Yeah, an oyster.
Where there's all that mucus and brown flesh and sludge that they eat. If you see a beautiful pearl there, like if you think of the rest of the film as being grey meat and mucus, the actual ideas of the film are the pearl.
It's very profound, John. So
back to the film.
Can you put that? Can you put that in as the pre-title sequence?
Britain, an ancient kingdom with legends of violence, cruelty, and torment in its blood. Join your hosts, Ross, John, and James, as they bravely tread where few would dare. Witness their journey into the horrific history of British horror. They are the General Witchfinders.
Ladies and gentlemen, goblins and ghouls, welcome to the 7th episode of the General Witchfinders podcast. I'm James in Bournemouth on the south coast of England.
I'm John Pountney, I'm in the south of Wales in South Wales.
And I'm Ross in Dorchester on southern England. And today, in this episode, we are covering the Horror Express.
For 2 million years in these subterranean caves, a creature of superhuman evil was entombed in a wall of ice, waiting to be free, waiting to live again. Travel with us on a journey into a world where nightmare becomes reality.
Are you telling me that an ape that lived 2 million years ago got onto that crate, killed the baggage man and put him in there?
Yes, I am. It's alive. It must be.
Travel with us, if you dare, on the Horror Express.
We'll search the train and find it, whatever it is, and destroy it.
But if it's alive...
I want this kept quiet. I don't want to panic the passengers.
The malignant power of this creature is indestructible, transferring its force from mind to mind, from body to body.
Beast is not dead. I put 4 bullets into him.
You think evil can be killed with bullets? Satan lives.
The animal that you shot was only the host. It's alive in someone on this train.
You saw his eyes. One look at them and you're dead.
Anything that moves near that door, kill it.
Run. Run for your life. Hide, but you can't escape. No one can stop the fury and the terror of the Horror Express.
Horror Express, or Pánico en el... Oh, no, I did it wrong. Horror Express, or Pánico en el Transiberiano. Translated as Panic on the Trans-Siberian, of course, is an English-language Spanish science fiction horror film, loosely based on the novella Who Goes There?, which, of course, is also the basis for The Thing from Another World, which in turn was remade as the classic The Thing in 1982 by John Carpenter. The film stars Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, with Alberto de Mendoza, Silvia Tortosa, Julio Peña, George Rigaud, and Ángel de Pozo in supporting roles. And Aristotle Telly Savalas in a guest appearance. In 1906, Professor Sir Alexander Saxton, a renowned British anthropologist, played by Christopher Lee, is returning to Europe by the Trans-Siberian Express from Shanghai to Moscow. With him is a crate containing the frozen remains of a primitive humanoid creature that he discovered in a cave in Manchuria. Before the train departs Shanghai, a thief is found dead on the platform. His eyes are completely white, without irises or pupils. Later, the humanoid is reanimated, roaming the moving train, leaving bodies with the same opaque white eyes in its wake. Autopsies suggest that the brains of the victims are being drained of memories and knowledge. When the humanoid is gunned down by Police Inspector Mirov, the threat seems to have eliminated, but the murders continue. Like all Italian and Spanish films of the period, Horror Express was filmed mostly without sound, with effects and voices dubbed into the film later. Lee, Cushing and Savalas all provided their own voices for the English market, with a certain Roger Delgado providing the voice for Inspector Mirov. According to director Eugenio... Yes. According to the director Eugenio Martín, the film was made because a producer obtained a train set from the production of Nicholas and Alexandra. He came up with the idea of writing a script just so he would be able to use this prop. Horror Express was filmed in Madrid between 1971 and 1972 and produced on a low budget of $300,000 and released a few months after the topic of our very first podcast episode, Dracula AD 1972. Yes.
There we go. Thank you very much.
So when you say train set, you don't mean a Hornby, like OO gauge.
That's what I immediately thought of. There were a couple of shots where it looked very train set.
Oh, I thought it was the set, as in the carriages.
Well, I took that as the model of the train which they were using.
Well, I've looked at the same Wikipedia article, so
essentially, this podcast is us reading out Wikipedia.
All I want to start by saying on this one is that they went through a very large amount of poached eggs on this set, because that's the eyeball effect is basically looks like not poached actually, more like a hard-boiled egg that you've peeled.
Yes.
And then you've stuck the bits in your eyes. And when I do that tomorrow, maybe I'll try and get Hell to take a picture of me so we can have it as the cover of the Death Face 2000.
So this film is got a little bit of history with James and I, because it's one of the ones which we, from the age of around about 13, 14, every Friday night we would sleep over someone's house. So either mine and James or our friend Michael Stu's house.
One of our friends,
or someone that you didn't know, just someone's house.
Yeah, every now and then, chance our hands.
Yeah.
Let yourselves in.
And we would often stay up and wait late and watch a horror movie. And I believe that this was the first film which was shown on the Richard O'Brien hosted horror thing called... what was it called? The
thing you tweeted about the other day.
A train-based sort of him in the underground.
Horror... Not...
Night Train or something like that. But... which was mainly, they were showing that thing, is it called Kojak? Not Kojak.
No, not
Kojak.
Kojak.
The Night Stalker.
Kojak appears in this film.
Yes, he does,
Yeah. Nicely linked.
However, I can't find any evidence that this film was actually shown as part of that, but that is my memory of this.
It was definitely shown late, because I was going to say, like, when we were kind of first putting together the idea for General Witchfinders, and we were kind of suggesting films and projects to look at, this was one of them, because, as Ross says, it was very much ingrained on my memory in the same way that, like, John, when you said in episode 1 about the Hammer films being shown like on a Friday night, were for you, as you know, in your teenage years. And this was definitely one of them. And it was really interesting for me learning that this wasn't a British film at all. I had no idea, none, when I was a teenager. For me, I just assumed, because it had Christopher Lee and it had Peter Cushing in it, and of course I now know dubbed English actors, you just kind of assume it's an English horror film.
Yeah. I think that we are tenuously getting this in on our British horror because of those. There was a kind of a British cross.
It is a co-production
Yeah.
with the people that did something like Psychomania or something like that.
Yeah, I think they did a range of these films.
A range of appallingly bad horror films.
What I thought was very interesting when I was kind of finding out more about it is that I realised that sort of like the main producer behind it was Bernard Gordon, who was been a Hollywood producer in the 30s and 40s, and then he got put on the Hollywood blacklist.
Oh, okay.
Because, he was part of the communists. He was, So he was kind of cast out from Hollywood and forced to come and sort of make a living in Europe. So that's why he was in Europe making these films. So I was like, oh, okay, that was interesting. I had no idea about that.
So my only memory of this from watching that was the whistling of the I thought the whistling was going to be a bigger part of it because that was my main memory. That the monster was like a hairy monster.
I felt at the end, one of the characters was going to go... And but no, they didn't go for that.
No.
But apart from that, I had no memory. I had no memory that it had Peter Cushing in it. No memory it had Christopher Lee in it. It was just there was this guy on a train, like an ape man on a train whistling. That was my only memory of this. So it was quite good to actually watch it. And my first impression as it started was it was really modern 70s font. None of these sort of the Gothic fonts which we're used to using.
Font, exactly. Yeah.
And I really like the kind of abstract train noises and the lights and all that kind
of. It's very Euro horror. The start.
Absolutely.
It's like ultra massive, like fuzz bass kind of soundtrack where it's like doo, and that's the theme tune.
I'm going to release an album of John doing all of these different. Soundtracks. I think he's doing it for every episode. Yeah. No, but I thought this is refreshing. I'm looking forward to this. And then
and then you're straight back into 30 minutes of mediocre Gothic horror, badly scripted. To start off with, it's very, very poor. And I think it's got the biggest exponential increase in quality of any film that we've watched so far because it starts off so badly.
But however, I did like that it was on location. It looked like he was actually potentially in Siberia, not the same park in Pinewood.
Well, it's meant to be in Peking.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
For a start.
The scene very early on where I thought, actually, this looks quite expensive, was when the train was about to depart.
Yes.
And they had a lot of extras, and they obviously filmed it in a...
I
thought, wow, this is pretty good.
Is it outside extras?
Outside extras, indeed.
Outside extras. I think that was... All of it was shot in Spain, wasn't it? So that's all... Yeah. That's a Spanish train station somewhere.
It's been one of the recurring themes as we've looked at the films of Peter Cushing on General Witchfinders. But this was the film that he made immediately after his wife's death. And he said about how Christopher Lee had to coax him.
Well, he had to sleep in the same bed as him, didn't he?
What?
Yeah.
I didn't see that on Wikipedia.
Yeah, one of the things I was reading, he said he signed up for the film, then he decided he couldn't do it. So Christopher Lee went and saw him and told him anecdotes about the films they made together and brought him back on board.
Now look here, Peter.
Come on.
Apparently he had a panic attack and Christopher Lee had to sleep in the same bed with him in order to calm him down.
Get him through.
That's awful, isn't it? Poor Peter.
I think that's a BBC Films film waiting to be made, isn't it? The night
that would be incredible.
Yeah.
That would be incredible.
That would.
Real time, just one set in the bed, just having that conversation.
Like Dot and Ethel when Ethel dies. Except Peter Cushing doesn't die.
But it was great to see them on the same side, as it were, in this film. Although they did have that really good, like, kind of antagonistic relationship where they like just disliked each other.
And it was good to have Christopher Lee actually speaking, and that was great.
Yes.
Rather
just pointing.
He looked great. His general look was awesome. He looked fantastic.
I thought that. I was thinking there's hardly any lines on his forehead. I was thinking, how old is he in this? Yeah. He was 50 when he made 50. This.
Yeah.
He looks brilliant
as well.
I wish I looked like good now.
It's the start is quite engaging. There's a lot of handheld camera. It feels a lot like it. Weirdly reminded me of the festival films that were made in the late 60s, early 70s of like Woodstock and the Isle of Wight Festival, because a lot of it's done on handheld camera. So you get this weird vibe where they're in the station and you've got this handheld camera kind of stuff, and then you go into this bizarre series of scenes where Christopher Lee's character is just basically vile to the station master guy.
Yeah.
Throws all of his stuff off his table onto the floor.
Well, that's after he's seen Peter Cushing bribing him, and he doesn't
bribing him.
Yeah, none of that really makes sense.
But considering what we know about what was happening with Peter Cushing at that time, this is the first film I've seen while we're doing this where he's come across as cheerful, smiley, a nice guy to be around. It was just great to see him happy and making jokes and stuff in this film.
I'm so pleased to be here. Crying. But that for me really doesn't gel with the stuff that's happening outside in the station on location, which is where a guy of a kind of Asian appearance turns up and tries to, for some reason, picks the large container that is Christopher Lee's property and then tries to steal something out of it.
Yeah, tries to pick the lock.
Yes, but then ends up discovered underneath it, dead with his eyes turned into hard-boiled eggs. Yeah.
I think that would look good. That's an iconic look, that the white eyes and all the blood around it.
For a corpse.
Yeah, it's just like... You see that now, and
classic horror,
and it was actually quite horrific.
The death scenes are really, really good, and I really enjoyed the death scenes in this film. I was looking forward to every death scene with great glee. To see the next person with some weird jump cuts, out of focus, screaming, blood coming out their nose.
It's proper horror, though.
But of course, straight your disbelief has got to be put to one side, where someone is found dead at the station in totally unexplained circumstances, and then all the people that are involved in this death then get on the train like nothing has happened, including the police officer that's investigating the death. So he's not based in Peking, he's Russian, and he's on the train.
Life is cheap in Peking. I think that's what it was, wasn't it? Like, oh well. He was a thief.
We've missed Rasputin before this point.
But, but before we get onto that, the other truly horrific, and I made a note of it, is
Rasputin.
When we're being introduced to all the characters, Christopher Lee talks to Peter Cushing, and he goes, "Oh, have you met my assistant, who is kind of the lady who she was." Immediately, as is often the case watching these stories, you're like, well, I know her from something. And I think she was kind of like a stalwart of American TV and had appeared in like lots of sitcoms and things like that.
She looks a bit like Nurse Gladys Emanuel.
Yes, she did, from Open All Hours. And she said, oh, she's an extremely proficient assistant, thorough, with a keen mind. And then she goes, for a woman, that is.
For a woman.
And literally, but then you can see that that's not the end of the line. She goes, for a woman, that is. And her mouth is opening and they just cut the dialogue. I was like, that scene obviously ran way long, but it's the most obvious cut I've seen in yonks. Like, oh,
yeah.
There goes that character development. But yeah, then yes.
They had to shorten the time before Telly Savalas came on. They thought, like, we're already waiting an hour for that. We can't wait
That's
any longer.
That's what people are paid to see.
All of that segment is terrible because the acoustics are totally wrong. You've got Cushing's voice, which is very much in the set. Mm-hmm. And then you've got everyone else's voices that are dubbed and sound totally different. So it sounds like they're talking from miles away. And it just... I don't know if it was more noticeable because I was listening to it on headphones. I don't know if you're in a cinema, it would make, maybe you wouldn't hear so much of a difference. But I found that really hard to follow because the dialogue was all over the place.
When I read about it, I thought it was going to be worse than it was. And it wasn't that bad.
That's one for the poster, isn't it? I thought it was going to be worse than it was.
And then, as Ross says, we are then introduced to one of the really remarkable characters of this film, who I've had to make a note of his name, Pujaron, who, for all intents and purposes, is Rasputin. It's just Russian monk in inverted commas, but he is made up to look. Yeah. And as I was watching, I was like, is the twist here going to be because of the whole time, because it was set, pre Russian Revolution? I thought, well, is it going to turn out that he is Rasputin? No, no. He's just like Rasputin. And straight away, he's like, there is something afoot here. And he's like, oh, but look, the devil, and watch this. And he does the maddest thing ever. Like, he gets a bit of chalk out of his pocket. Who knew that monks always had chalk with them? And he does the cross. He does a crucifix on a slab. And then he goes up to the crate and he goes, look, the chalk will not write on the crate. And I thought, and? And it might just be very waxy. Yeah. That's like, I didn't think that was remarkable in any way, shape, or form.
Or you can easily explain that away, as Christopher Lee later on, is by hypnosis or yoga. Either those two.
Brilliant that line.
Hypnosis, yoga.
They can be very convincing. Man of science, Christopher Lee.
He's yoga.
I know all about the paranormal.
But he's wonderfully grumpy
all the way through. Yeah.
Yes, all the way through.
And then Christopher Lee meets the kind of quasi love interest, but not really. Who is like this Russian? Oh no, she's Polish, isn't she?
Polish countess.
Yeah, that's right.
She's
yes, this countess.
But she's a spy as well, isn't she?
Oh no,
turns out she's a spy.
No, that's another spy. That's someone else.
That's somebody else.
Right.
That's right.
Oh, the one that Christopher Lee meets. Yes, it's very confusing because the two ladies look virtually the same, don't they?
So the Christopher Lee, he's in the baggage compartment, and he's making sure that he keeps telling everyone it's just fossils in this big box with a door at eye height. It's just fossils. There's nothing else in there, but don't open it up. And then the Countess comes in with some sexy, and no one knows what a fossil is in this. He has to keep explaining what fossils are to everyone. Yeah. And then the sexy Polish Countess comes in with some sexy accordion music playing. But she's got like her dog, which is, she said he usually likes Englishmen, but there's something in this box it doesn't like.
Yeah.
I was wondering how they got that dog to bark quite so much.
Peter Cushing told the dog that his wife had just died. The dog... The dog was so traumatised that he just barked for 2 weeks, and Telly Savalas actually had to put the dog down. Really
stamped on it. This is when we find out that there is some kind of rivalry between Christopher Lee's character and Peter Cushing's character. And Peter Cushing, as we see earlier, doing a bit of bribery. He bribes the man who's in charge of the baggage compartment to have a look inside the box of fossils. But something else we should point out, that the Countess gives the man in there a package to put into the safe.
Oh, right, yes.
Yeah.
Should I jump in with an observation at this point about Cushing and Lee's characters? Have either of you seen either version of the two cinema versions of The Lady Vanishes?
Oh, a long time ago. The Hitchcock one,
I've seen the black and white one.
Yes, the Hitchcock one. It's got Charters and Caldecott.
Yes.
And that's it's a comedy. Well, they became a duo based on those characters, and they made a series of films.
Films. That's right. Yeah.
They're in Dead of Night. They're playing the same characters but different character names.
Okay.
And then in the 1970s version, which was made after this, which is Elliot Gould and Sybil Shepherd, it's Arthur Lowe and I think Ian Carmichael or someone like that. I can't remember who it is now. But that's what I thought straight away when I saw these two, that they are basically just rip-offs of Charters and Caldecott. And not done badly at all. And I think that as the film goes on, I think that, you're kind of pleased that they're there, because otherwise it's a weird meeting of two very different worlds of cinema, and you've got this kind of, like you say, this Italian giallo style horror cinema where all of the audio was added later, which to kind of British ear sounds really, really weird. And then you've just got these two kind of stalwarts that come in bizarrely into this kind of alien world where then Telly Savalas turns up for no reason.
And brilliantly. And also, there's a kind of a spy film into the mix. Everything's in here. It's mad.
When Chris Lee meets the Polish Countess, she describes the English as Queen Victoria, crumpets, and Shakespeare. Those are
crumpets.
And I wrote, fair enough.
Yeah.
I thought that was all right. I thought if you just add in casual racism, there you go. Bang.
Fray Bentos spies.
Oh, Fray Bentos.
Spies. Done.
The dialogue in this is like when you used to see stuff on Clive James shows in the 80s or 90s, where Japanese had been translated. No, English had been translated into Japanese and then back again.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be, and obviously the results would mean that it was unintelligible rubbish. A lot of the dialogue in this is unintelligible rubbish, written by someone who as if they've never spoken English.
Well, you should try watching it how I watched it today, where I had it on double speed with the predicted subtitles on, and the subtitles are completely wrong. So every time they cut to a train, it was saying applause. So because it was picking up double speed train sounds as applause on there.
Sounds like a Morecambe and Wise sketch.
Yeah, so because we originally were going to record this last week, I hadn't seen it for a week, so I wanted to make sure I had up to date, but I couldn't sit through. It's quite a long film, isn't it? Yeah, so
no, it's an hour and a half.
I felt
it's a 90 minutes.
It feels long.
It feels really long, but
the first half is very long, and then the second half just absolutely whips by.
And there's no ending. There's no real proper code.
No. Let's come to the end at the end. That's my favourite bit.
At the end, yes.
That's when we meet the second lady. This is someone who is obviously sneaking on the train, and she comes to Peter Cushing's character and says, "I have no ticket. I need to get to Shanghai. I'm sure I can make it worth your while." And it's so blatantly that I will sleep with you if you let me hide in your carriage.
But she doesn't know at that point that Peter's grieving his wife Helen, and that comes. It's very crass what she's.
And he only wants to sleep with his best friend, Christopher Lee.
No, the midget cranky woman that's his assistant in this film.
But then we find out that Christopher Lee has been put into the same carriage, Peter Cushing and the woman he's trying to hide out, and she's pretty much implies that she can come to an arrangement for both.
Nice. So back to the res. Beyond Ross just focuses on sort of like the
I think we're all struggling with the notes with this because it's like, for me, the two women in it, the two kind of pin-up women in it, I couldn't. This sounds really misogynist, but I couldn't tell the difference between them. And that's because their get-up in it is just all-purpose European 70s cinema babes.
Yeah.
And they just looked like exactly... They just had different hair. Their makeup and everything, their outfits, everything was the same.
Yeah.
And I think that made it really hard to differentiate between their characters, what their characters are actually doing. The first woman that introduces to Christopher Lee,
the Countess,
she's kind of the Countess is just kind of there with her much older Count, who is, was it a
father or husband? Do you think?
Oh, I don't know. I presumed husband, but maybe father. I don't know.
Because the way they were, he felt like he was grooming her in order to get together with Christopher Lee, because she was asking him, what outfits do I need to wear when I see him, and all that.
Yes.
And that's why I was thinking, well, they married and trying to get into some kind of tryst or something.
Dowry situation.
Yeah. But then, so just coming on to the Count and Countess, why have they got this monk travelling with them? Because apparently he's being paid to pray for them, they've been told. But
well, again, this is very close to the Rasputin thing, was it? The kind of the Romanovs, the Russian ruling royal family at the time. If you had power and influence, they had kind of a religious advisor or a spiritual advisor. So I think it's just playing on the notion of, they thought a 1970s audience would go, oh, okay, kind of Eastern European, Russian-esque monarchy, they will have a Rasputin-esque spiritual advisor with them.
To flagellate himself in order for them to do whatever they want, basically. Yeah.
Whatever they want.
I'm watching, I've got this going while we're talking about this. So, at this point, we got the chap, the baggage cart guy, he's whistling this tune to himself as he's unscrewing the...
Well, Peter Cushing has asked someone on the train, because all the men on the train look the same, they've all got the same outfit on, they've all got the same face. He's asked someone to drill into this box where Christopher Lee's stones and fossils are, because he's interested to see what's in there. Why Peter Cushing's there, we don't know. Why he's interested in what's in the box, I don't think we know. Are they kind of rivals in archaeology?
But they're completely different types of science. So why would they be rivals? Because he's into... because he's into diseases and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so he opens the box, and then this guy, the whistling guy, watches a hairy arm come out.
Yeah, and I thought it was you that was in their cleats looking at that arm.
Me too! Right, I was going to make, but I thought it would be overly cruel. I think it might have been when Ross was having a bad day. Let me see if I go back to my camera.
I thought did I delete arm coming out?
Have you got one of my hairy arms on shot?
I'm just going to go. Ross lets himself in after another heavy night out at Diego's in Dorchester. I was going to put, but then I thought that was a bit cruel, and I wasn't going to.
Talking to a one-eared farmer. So this sequence really made me think of Dracula. Like, this film is basically ripped off from loads of other. It's a bit like The Rat, actually, where it's this idea. This is basically Dracula when Dracula is in the Demeter, going from Bremen or wherever it is to Whitby in the novel, isn't it? He's in the cask thing. Yeah. Cask or casket? It's not a cask. You put wine in a cask.
Yeah, casket.
He's in the casket, and he comes out of the casket. And it's also, I know I always go on about M.R. James, but this part is a blatant rip-off of Count Magnus, a story by M.R. James, which is very similar to Dracula, where a guy becomes obsessed with a dead Swedish nasty nobleman, and then the ghost of this nobleman lets himself out of his casket and then chases the man across Europe. Mm-hmm. So I think there's two very, very big shouts out to those stories there, which isn't a bad thing at all. Mm-hmm. And what I always like with films like this, they're a bit like Easter eggs, those kind of things, aren't they?
Yeah, the knowledge.
They're little. You can see them as little treats for fans of genre stuff that they can see the kind of homage where, when it's
or the influence.
Yeah, it's coming an absolute mile off. You're like, oh yeah, this is Dracula now, or this is Cleaver's arm coming in the coffin.
But when he was reaching out, bending the nail and picking the lock, I'd forgotten that he was sucking the skills and the knowledge out of it. When I was going, how does he know how to do that?
You haven't found that out at that point.
Yeah, so I'd written loads of notes about how stupid this was, not realising.
Well, that's what I thought. And then when I saw, when they said, it's the bagman and the thief that are the first people that he's
when he starts whistling,
sucked the brain out of.
Yeah,
I was like, whoa, that's actually really, really clever. And it made me kind of reassess the film at that point. And for me at that point, that's when the film got much more enjoyable.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to say now that I enjoyed this more than I enjoyed The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, later on, I was going to say that The Thing is, if not in my top 10, easily in my top 20 films of all time. Wow, it's a masterpiece and it's genius. Wow. And later on, I was going to say, my big takeaway from this is it's such a brilliant idea, and what Carpenter took from it is that whole thing of like paranoia and how do you know if you can't even trust yourself? That's his brilliant turn in The Thing, is to say it might have already got to you and copied you, and you might not even know it. So not only kind of like taking forward that 1950s paranoia from the original Who Goes There, but then saying you can't even trust yourself. And that's fantastic. And then at the end, and that incredible ending where who's won really at the end? Has anyone won? But all you know is that The Thing hasn't. And that's great. So whereas I think John Carpenter's The Thing has got that extra level on it, and obviously the insane special effects from Rob Bottin that this film didn't have. But I find that at heart, it's a really great concept. And I thought if they remade this, as with so many of the things we're looking at, if they remade this now, it'd be amazing.
A remake of this, and the idea that I had at the end, which I messaged you both on WhatsApp, which is we'll come to at the end, what my idea was that this is going to turn out to be, and then it wasn't. Yeah. That is the absolute chef's kiss for the remake of this that we're going to make. Yeah. Because that's a brilliant resolve to the problem of this film, which is that this film doesn't have an ending at all.
Ending, correct. But back to the plot.
So they've opened the box and they found that the baggage man's inside there with his eyes all white and all the blood. And they are arresting Christopher Lee because they think that he's responsible for this. And one of the soldiers, which I've written down here, why are there so many soldiers on the train? And did it occur to me, why is the policeman on the train? As you say, John, he's just got on this train to try. I'm going to solve this crime en route to wherever we're going. But they make the
Let's all get on the train, guys. Yeah. It's like magical mystery tour.
It also occurred to me that all these Russian people look incredibly Spanish, don't they? Very tanned.
I didn't know it was Delgado doing the voice of whoever he does the voice of. Did you say the police officer?
The inspector, yeah. Who at one point the monk calls master, which was a nice touch.
Oh. What I also thought is that the monk looks a lot like Anthony Ainley, who obviously was the next. Well, he wasn't the next exactly, but probably the next most famous master as well. So that's interesting. Neither of them, of course, appeared in Spearhead from Space.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the only Doctor Who serial to be totally shot on 16mm.
Oh, yeah. That's a very interesting fact, John. Thank you for that.
Neither of them are in that.
It's at this point as well, trains that they start to realise that there's murders happening on the train and that, something's afoot. And then we get the best line from Pujaron. I'm just going to call him Rasputin from this point in. He says to to the nobility who are his paymasters, "There's a stink of hell on this train. Even the dog knows it. Even the dog.
Even the dog.
Right,
the dog then
is
never seen again. The dog disappears. You don't see the dog again."
All the guards who all look like Che Guevara. They do not look Russian whatsoever. And the hairy arm is now like waving over the top of sleeping children, which is quite a spooky.
Yeah, what was that imagery? That was weird because you don't see the children again, do you? And it's like, why is that to show that the children have nothing in their brains that it's interested in? Or
yeah, but that was interesting.
I guess so. Yeah.
I thought at first that was to do with that it spares the children, and you kind of meant to think, oh, that's interesting.
Maybe it's not so bad.
Yeah, or they just couldn't kill children, but they wanted to have the idea of threat towards children.
Yeah.
But what did you think of the makeup, the monster makeup at this point?
I have to say that I really enjoy all of the makeup effects in this film for their kind of sheer analog brilliance of someone having light bulbs stuck over their eyes.
Yeah. Because it wasn't LEDs, was it? It must have been an actual light bulb.
Yeah, it was an actual like torch bulb with like held in place with what looked like putty. But again, it's just like all these films we're watching, like the charm and the kind of chutzpah of doing it is actually like, I'm going to go with this because, I'd rather watch this than The Age of Ultron or contemporary Doctor Who. Let's put that out.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to touch all of my cliches in one.
What you touch with. But it's interesting that they decided to use the hairy arm, the identifier of the monster.
Yeah. That was the working title of this film, The Hairy Arm.
The Hairy Arm of Siberia.
There's Ross's new username on a website of your choice.
There's a sequence at this point that's a little bit Hammer's Dracula 1958, where the woman who is the spy comes up to Peter Cushing and she's like, "Help me." And that's exactly like the part in the Hammer Dracula where Jonathan Harker comes to the castle and the bride of Dracula kind of pops up and is like, and I think actually says, "Help me, you will help me." And that was another thing that made me think this is like, it's almost like repetition of, it's almost the raison d'etre. The whole film is that the film is a mashup of different parts of other films and other kind of, it's, it's the two stars, it's Telly Savalas, and then the actual storyline is a mashup of other sci-fi stuff. It's a very... I started watching it thinking, this is going to be awful. I've tried to watch it before when it was on Talking
Pictures.
Yes. I was going to say Talking Television Pictures then. When it was on Talking Pictures, and I don't know if that was a bad print or what, but it was unwatchable on there. I enjoyed this a lot more than I expected to because there's so much in it that you kind of feel comforted and kind of feels just familiar, really. The bit where they're looking down a microscope and they see a bloody brontosaurus.
And a pterodactyl.
It's so insane that it's almost brave. That it's like, are we gonna do this? Yeah, we're gonna do it. Should we do it? Yeah, let's do it. But
so that is the point where they take the eyes out of the dead bodies and they realise that the eyes are capturing the last thing the person saw before they died, which is like a weird sort of myth which is out there.
Which has been in a lot of genre stuff, hasn't it? That's why murderers would take people's eyes out, because they thought that the police would be able to trace them from somehow reading what their eyes had encoded.
But what they didn't realise is if you scroll around a bit, you can see dinosaurs and it's like a Viewmaster.
and eventually you can see planet Earth, of course, which
from space.
Absolutely bonkers. Yeah, it was like a Viewmaster. Once again, for my notes for all of that was it's our reoccurring theme of that's not how science works. Horror films. This time Peter Cushing goes, the information absorbed through the eyes. And I thought, that's not how encoded information in the brain. You can't absorb it through the eyeballs. I don't care what alien you are. That's impossible. Amazing. That doesn't work.
Mr. Savalas? Yes. Your agent.
Yes?
Telly, baby, how are you?
Have I got one for you? You're going to drink Bacardi in a commercial. But I already drink Bacardi. No, I know that. You know that, but they don't know that. Listen, they want you to drink it where it comes from. In the Bahamas. But I am drinking it in the Bahamas. So I know that, you know that, but they don't know that. All I want you to do is say it tastes good. I've always said it tastes good. I know that. You know that, but they don't know that.
Bacardi rum. With a character all of its own.
I thought you was changing your agent.
I know that. You know that. But you don't know that.
They find some dead bodies, and they go to Peter Cushing while he's having dinner, all in his sort of dinner suit. He said, "Are you a doctor?" And he said, "Try asking me after I finish my dinner."
Yeah,
nice. So, he doesn't know what the emergency is, but all he cares about is I don't care. Wait till my dinner's finished.
Yeah.
But then he goes and asks the older lady who's his assistant, and he said, "I should need your assistance." And he looks up and sees that he's sitting with this young spy. He says, "At your age, I'm not surprised."
Yes.
And then he gives her like a double take.
Yeah.
And it's, but what is she inferring? What does she think she's asking him to assist her with?
So,
again, there's so many threesome and foursomes going on this train.
To perform sexual congress with the younger woman.
Yeah. Build him a splint or something.
At this point, it goes straight in Frankenstein, as in The Curse of Frankenstein, or any Hammer Frankenstein that you want to mention, because Cushing then goes straight into the autopsy, where he asks for a type of saw, and he literally does it in exactly the same way that he does when he's playing Baron Frankenstein. And I just thought, this is hilarious, that they just like, he doesn't look at who he's talking to, puts his hand over his shoulder, he says something like, "Tenon saw." They give him the saw, and he carries on cutting the top of the guy's brain open. And then they find that the brain miraculously...
Smooth as a baby's bottom.
Yeah. Why would memories being removed from someone's brain make it go smooth?
Because the memories are just like carved into them. Yeah, that's all it is. It's like Braille.
I'm surprised that you didn't see the face of the murderer imprinted on the brain.
On the brain.
That would make as much sense.
But
so
that's when
the other line. There's a wonderful. The other line that made me laugh out loud was at one point Christopher Lee says, "There's a scientific explanation for all of this," and the Countess goes, "Do you know it?" And he just goes, "No." You are.
Is this at the point?
Trust me. But there's a scientific explanation for everything. There is.
Do you know what it is?
I just don't understand it.
No. Next. There's also a phrase at this point which I enjoyed, which is the riddles of science.
Yeah, nice.
The riddles of science. Riddle me this, scientist. My notes at this point start to become a lot more staccato now because...
That's mad, because mine too. Until the entrance of Telly Savalas, I only wrote 2 things down.
So what happens is Peter Cushing is getting excited because he thinks he's going to have the night in the cabin with the spy lady. Right. He's got his dressing gown on. He said, it's your turn to go and use the bathroom.
Yeah.
She goes...
Yeah, but he's been in the lab and he's like, yeah, now your turn now, darling. I'd leave it 10 minutes if I were you.
So she goes off, pretends to go to the bathroom.
Take a match with you.
But then goes and picks the lock of the safe and steals an item which was put in there earlier by the Countess. And then she's killed by the ape man who's been hiding on the roof of the train all this time because they think he's gone.
Like Roger Moore dressed as a gorilla. Maybe all of this film is the precursor to Roger Moore dressed as a gorilla in Octopussy. It's got to be, isn't it? The spy lady looks strangely like Jane McDonald. So I've written Jane McDonald murdered. Great.
That's a newspaper headline, isn't it?
Because her murder is probably the best murder. She has a gutsy murder and she screams a lot. There's lots of weird cross-cutting. There's like double exposure.
Those bits, I can't imagine. What would that be like in a cinema? That would be great, seeing those bits on the big screen.
Oh, yeah. Big. Yeah, very good. Very good. You think evil can be killed with bullets?
The only thing that I've written down is, shoot, you stupid Russian.
And she's not in the toilet. And goes into the baggage, and then the hairy arm starts grabbing around the door.
But he goes in and he sprays a bit because he's like, whoa, she's left a real stink in there.
And then Roger Delgado turns up and starts just like shooting wildly. With no regard at all that Peter Cushing's standing in the way, who has to jump out the way and kills the monster at this point. But just before he does, the red light comes on the eyeball. And you have sound effects, and
which is great.
At which at that point, that policeman gets a hairy arm, which he has to keep in his pocket for the rest.
So why does he get the hairy arm? Yeah, I mean it's obvious why he does, but later on it's explained that this creature is energy and it's lived in
fish,
peas or something. I can't remember. Yeah, fish and veg and stuff. And then it's lived in this frozen ape for like 2 million years. But then when it transfers to the policeman, why does it transfer the hairy arm?
Just so the audience can get. Oh, right. Okay. I just thought it was the lowest common denominator thing, really.
He's a baddie now.
They were discussing why and how this transfers from body to the body. And someone says, it sucks other people's brains.
It's surprisingly high death toll in this film, isn't there? It's willy-nilly and it's kind of...
Later, bonkers.
Yeah, it kills a whole train carriage full of Cossacks.
So this is when they do the experiment on the eyeball and they realise that it's got pictures of dinosaurs inside the eyeball, and then the Russian, Rasputin sees this, calls it the eye of Satan and steals the eye, and goes and hides, runs away, and they're all trying to get the eye back off of him.
And for reasons that aren't entirely clear, or that I maybe wasn't concentrating hard enough, that for a man of God, he suddenly kind of like switches allegiances. He's like, all right, I'm Team Satan now.
Yeah, very quickly.
I'm with you.
I also don't know why the eye is so important, because it's not like they can get any information out of
because
the eye.
Because imagine how much you could charge people to look at
a picture of a brontosaurus on a Viewmaster.
On an eye Viewmaster.
I hadn't thought of that. That's a very good point.
Then the older assistant goes looking for the eye, and she sees the policeman who is now the possessed monster, and said, if you can find that eye, I'll give you so much money. But then he kills her. But the Rasputin is hiding in the baggage cartridge and sees that the policeman is the monster with the stuck on red glowing eyes. And at that point, the policeman says that you've got nothing in your mind I want, and just leaves him. And it's like, why does he not kill him?
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't need him.
He has no skills. He just knows about Jesus, like me.
Yeah, I mean, that's like that. I think that's the film trying to make a comment on religion, isn't it? And it's like, would you take this film's word on anything let alone religion? And the answer is no. What I always like is when a really bad B movie tries to be profound. And I love that idea of like, Satanic Rites of Dracula that we've done. Have we done that yet? Or is that in the future?
That's the one before this. Yeah, so they would have heard that.
Oh, right. Okay. So they have heard that. So that's like, this brings up all these big questions about, Dracula. Does he want to just rule over a dead planet? And like this one is as well is like, your mind has nothing for me, and it's like because you are religious, but it's like you're in a bloody £300,000 horror movie filmed in Spain. It's not
it's not a great work
it's not
of art,
Scorsese. Yeah. No, so it's like but I really love that because I always admire someone for sticking really.
It's actually about something.
Well, it's just silly, isn't it? It's just
yeah, but at least they're trying to. But I watched a really good horror film over the weekend on Shudder. It was called The Dark and the Wicked, and it was it's all about a father of a family is dying, and the mother kills herself, but she's saying that someone's trying to take, and it's basically someone's trying to take his soul, and it's really frightening. Lots of jump scares, which I shit myself, and then it just ended. But I was thinking that it was really effective. It was really scary, but it wasn't about anything. There was no story to it at all. There was no
horror films like that bore the living piss out of me when it's just literally like, some new people have moved to the area. What are they doing in the house at night? Let's go and break into the house. Oh my God, there's something weird in the basement. And then it's like they're in the basement for an hour. There's loads of jump scares. And then it finishes with someone running down the street screaming.
It's not about anything, is it? It's just...
No, it's like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of school of horror, isn't it? Where it's literally like...
I was scared, but... Yeah, there was no ideas in it. I think one of the things that's coming out of a lot of the stuff we're doing now, at least there's ideas in it. It might not be particularly scary. It might not...
Well, the ideas in this, there's loads of really interesting ideas in this film, which I was quite surprised because I couldn't remember what it was about. So I did... I mean... 99% of people will watch this and say, what is this rubbish? But I think us three are lucky enough to see the pearls amongst the...
Shit, yeah.
And then my skittish notes just say, eye montage.
So yeah, they're doing lots of magnifying glasses and looking at people's eyes. They get to the inspector and they don't see anything in his eye either.
No. So that's a bit of a MacGuffin there, isn't it? Because there's nothing in the eyes. So that's just a bit of a waste of time,
but it's similar to in The Thing later on, where they're trying to using the blood with the hot wire.
What they should have actually done is said, let's look at everyone's hands.
Yeah, who's got hairy
because he's got a big hairy claw on.
They want to stop the train, but then the inspector goes and stops the guy who's doing the Morse code to try and to get them to stop the train. And I was just thinking, there was so many films set on trains in the 70s. I think like one of my sort of recurring childhood memories of watching lots of films set on trains. There's always people having fights on top of trains. There's always, but it's just one of those things, wasn't there? That this is a way of doing a bottle story where people can't get off, and in films you can't stop a train. Doesn't matter what's going on there.
You can't stop the train.
It's got to keep going, and we don't have many train movies anymore.
No. My favourite train movie is from Russia with Love when Sean and Robert Shaw have the big fight and no one comes to see what's happening. Like, they have the most violent, percussive fight in screen history. It's a brilliant fight scene. And literally no one on the train is like, what the hell is going on down there? These two guys are beating 7 shades of shit out of each other. And I love that. And the bit where he's like, red wine with fish... Old Man, that's my favourite. That's my favourite train film, and also my favourite bit is when Rosa Klebb comes out and punches him in the stomach outside a big mansion with a spotlight on it. I don't even know if that's how the sequence goes.
In my mind, that's all that matters.
Because he doesn't even look like a muscular guy. He just looks like a normal man, and she's like, "Yes, very good, Agent, whatever." I've digressed very much here. So anyway, The Thing.
When they're sending the message to say not to stop the train, that's when you find Telly Savalas is with all his Cossacks.
Wait, hold on, Ross.
In
hold
a cage.
On. First of all, a little bit of background in the fact that they got Telly Savalas. Yeah. Basically, he did this film so he could buy a flat in London for his girlfriend, which is amazing. That's so he's in it. You could tell that he was probably on set for 2 days, 2 days maximum. And the internet says that apparently he improvised most of his dialogue, which you get the feeling.
Really? You're surprised?
None of it makes any fucking sense.
And the soundtrack, we've already talked about the soundtrack on this. The guy who did the soundtrack was a friend of Telly Savalas's, who then went on to do the soundtrack did the theme for Kojak.
Which then did the music for Satanic Rites of
Dracula. No way! Is the flat that he bought in London the flat that John Carpenter lives in Dracula AD 1972? It must be. She's definitely got a drawing of Dracula on her wall.
Wow. Galaxy brain stuff there, isn't it? It's brilliant. Yeah. So he turns up, and for me, it's one of the great entrances in cinema history, in that he's obviously supposed to be in charge of he doesn't look anything like a Cossack. He just looks like a bold Greek bloke, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter at all. We find that while his men are just sort of sat around playing cards and what have you, he's in bed, which immediately makes him a hero for me, with a young lady.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
But behind, is it not behind a cage?
Probably.
I thought that. It looks like he's in some kind of like stable or something, isn't it?
Dog kennel.
But he says some weird line.
There's a guy there.
He says something like,
every line is...
Let me just find it. I've got it written down here. That a horse has 4 legs, the murderers...
Oh, come on, mate. If you're going to do it, give it some.
Go on, you do it. You do it.
A horse has 4 legs. A murderer has 2 arms. And a devil must be afraid of an honest Cossack.
Which makes no sense whatsoever. But what a line of dialogue. What a line of dialogue that is.
It's very Colonel Kurtz in
to a degree, yes.
Now, isn't it? It's very Marlon Brando-y kind of.
At least you can understand what he's saying.
So they decide that, so these Cossacks, so they are going to be going through sort of Cossack territory. And so, they get wind, don't they, that there's been hijinks aboard the Trans-Siberian Express. And so it's like, right, balls to all this. Let's get Telly Savalas on board and let's sort this out once and for all.
I did Google, did go on eBay whilst watching this for Cossack coat because I did like his look. Yeah. He looks amazing in this.
The Next Doctor. Would you vote for the Next Doctor to be Telly Savalas dressed like this?
Yeah, why not? I don't know when it happened, but there's an amazing line when I thought, oh, there you go. This kind of sums up kind of like the ingrained feeling in this movie of like British superiority, this myth of British superiority.
Yeah, that's a great line.
Peter Cushing goes, monster? Why, we're British. As if we couldn't be. I was like, oh, there you go.
I think there's an awful lot of improvisation going on here, isn't there? I think that they looked at, the 3 main stars, one of whom was on set for like 20 minutes, looked at the script and thought, this is absolute rubbish. We're going to have to try and add some humour and kind of...
a bit of life to this.
Pizzazz to this, yes, definitely.
Yeah. So at this point, there's a character which we haven't mentioned before, who's like a young scientist on there.
Yeah, the poor engineer.
He's an idiot, though.
He's playing chess.
Pointless.
The monster in the body of the inspector goes to speak to him about space rockets.
God, could you
and then he kills him while a woman, American lady's in that carriage with him. And then they realise that every time someone's killed, they're found in a dark room. So they realise that there's something to do with the darkness.
Yes. And not explained.
Not explained at all. But it's just so that the light bulbs work in the eyes, basically, is it?
Yeah. He's got to kill everyone in the dark because he's got torch bulbs stuck in his eyes. And that's the only reason we're going to turn the lights out. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to see. I mean, and also, we won't be able to see the putty that's holding the light bulbs in place. And presumably the wires somewhere, because
plugged into the mains.
Unless he had a battery in his mouth, how are they going to do it?
So then Telly Savalas comes on board, gets everyone to a room and just is rude to everyone.
You can question Telly Savalas' methods, but he gets results within like 30 seconds of being on board. He threatens a few people, and stuff starts happening.
Yeah, identifies who the killer is.
Unorthodox, and they figure out in 10 seconds who the killer. I was like, right, there you go. Now things are happening.
Chris Lee turns the lights off, and then the eyes light up. Telly Savalas, with no effort at all, throws a sword into the back of the inspector.
Talking of no effort at all, I need to skip back to the start of the film where they're trying to open the casket thing with an axe. Yeah. And the guy swinging the axe, he might as well be swinging a cotton bud. Yeah. Or, what were those things that the gladiators...
Pugil stick.
Yeah. He might as well be swinging a pugil stick onto... and he hits a chain once, and the chain just falls to pieces, and it's like, what? It's just absurd. It looks ridiculous. Yeah, so
but before he throws the knife into the inspector's back, the Rasputin tries to defend his new master, who at one point he does the prayer, "My Father who art in hell,"
thus confirming.
Which I really enjoyed that part. Yeah. Which I just realised is a bit of a Renfield and Dracula kind of scenario.
Yes, very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, then Telly Savalas whips the guy with a cat of nine tails. No reason. Throws the knife into the back of the inspector when they realise he's got a hairy arm. But before he dies, he transfers his body into or his essence into Rasputin's body.
Into Peter Davison. Oh no, sorry.
The Watcher turns up. But this is when it gets brilliant for me.
This is when it gets brilliant.
Yeah.
This film is brilliant.
But it gets even more brilliant.
Is more fun.
They go all out. This is when it goes all out.
Yeah, all the lights are off, and Rasputin just goes into like a killing. There's so many Cossacks get killed. Well, actually,
everyone gets killed,
including
Telly Savalas.
Yeah, and Telly Savalas has a brilliant death scene. Right, so
he puts up more of a fight, though, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
And some great choices were gripping his head as the 70s.
Yeah, I do like the head gripping.
Peter Cushing and Crystal Lee's got everyone else to run to the back of the train while this is all going on.
Yes. They're very British about it all. They kind of say to him, "You've got nothing else to do, or you've got nowhere else to go." And he goes, no, but there's more. And we learn that he's got like this extra power that he can raise a zombie army.
Yes, so everyone he's killed so far, they all rise up, and then Christopher Lee has to battle through them all.
It's amazing.
With a sword.
And again, now, as I was watching it, I thought, my God, if you were remaking this now, what you'd have is you could say, right, they would have something that the alien would want.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, right, get into the last compartment, and then like have it like siege styley, have like the zombie Cossack army, and them having to fight off. I thought, that would have been really good.
But even as it is, I thought this is quite modern fight thing when they go through, and it was very exciting.
I did enjoy this part very much.
All the eyes are lighting up. They all got white, all the white and the blood and all that kind of stuff.
All the white and the blood.
All the white and the blood. They get a message, say they've got to stop the train. The guy said, "Oh, maybe there's a war." Pulls a lever.
Yeah, maybe there's a war.
Yeah, pulls a lever. Quickly, Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing detach the last carriage.
And that's not shown. All they do is lift up a flap, and their hands go out of shot, and it's like they've managed to uncouple using their bare hands and no tools a railway carriage.
Just English brawn. That's what can-do spirits.
Yeah, and then the train is put off onto a separate track. Which, why would anyone build a separate track which goes off the edge of a cliff?
Nowhere.
The train is catapulted off the edge of the cliff, explodes.
Yeah.
The last carriage just stops on the edge.
Stops the edge.
They look over the edge,
and then
the end.
The end.
That's right, and they just burning carriage. Like the alien is definitely dead.
No dialogue.
Definitely dead. Yep, no coda. That's it. There's your movie. Thank you very much. Good night.
Yeah, I think it says "fan" as in F-I-N.
End.
Yeah.
Up until this point, I felt like the last third of this film, so basically from when Telly Savalas got on there, it just the excitement and like just ramped up.
It goes up.
Yeah.
It absolutely goes up a notch.
It didn't feel like a modern film, but it didn't feel like a film from 1970, whatever it was.
We kind of touched on it previously to this, but the whole notion of that. Well, obviously he's a murdering alien, But yet at the same time, like when he's talking to the engineer, you get the feeling of he's just trying to get the fuck off a planet Earth.
He wants to go home.
And again, if you were remaking this now, I would really have that. The whole, I hate you people.
Yeah.
I just want out of here.
I want to get away from you disgusting humans.
Well, there was a
and then you cut to a shot of Piers Morgan on TV, and then just the alien just like shaking his head, like, please get me out of here. At this point, I messaged our WhatsApp group and said, is this going to be the Tunguska event in Russia, in Siberia in 1908? I was really excited that it was going to be, and then it wasn't. But if I read it...
I didn't know what that was. I didn't understand that.
The Tunguska is the biggest explosion.
No, I didn't know that. No, sorry.
There's a huge asteroid.
Just when all the trees came down.
Yeah. So there's a Doctor Who comics strip from 1987 which deals with this event, and I think it makes out that it's something to do with the Doctor from Marvel Comics 1987. So that's the first time I heard about it. But it's an explosion over the sparsely populated eastern Siberian region, which flattened an estimated 80 million trees over 830 square miles of forest, blah, 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 blah. It says that basically it's it's an airburst of a stony meteoroid about 100 meters. What? Wow. The meteoroid was 100 meters across. I thought that the actual explosion was 100 meters above the Earth, but it's the meteoroid itself was 100 meters. Wow, that's massive.
Yeah.
So I thought this creature is made of energy. The train's going to go off the cliff and it's going to explode. And then at the end, it's going to say Tunguska 1908. But it didn't.
Yeah.
It just says end.
End. Done. Get out.
So when we remake this, that's going to be the ending, okay? The reveal will be where they are. And I think it's going to be like a helicopter kind of shot coming up. And it's just a big crater, isn't it? Basically, with all these trees.
All the animals around the area will have red eyes. So that it's just spread out to all of the fauna of Russia.
So expecting, like I said earlier on, I was so expecting one of the characters to do the whistle or something like that.
Yeah.
I got away.
Yes.
I've got away with that. No, they didn't go for that. We said everything's fine. Everything.
Well, you could have had as the train went off. He becomes eye to eye with Chris Lee or something like that as it goes over the cliff, and it's like, did it manage to transfer? I think that's how they
do it now, but I think then it's just like, right, we've got enough.
We got to get
here
done
for 90 minutes. Let's literally finish this film. People have finished their popcorn. The main feature's on next. We need to get them out to buy an ice cream now.
We've seen enough boiling eyes.
Yeah. But you could do a sequel though, where someone's goes to that crash site. Like in modern day,
maybe
because we know that it can stay in a dead body for millions of years.
Well, effectively, he's just trapped there now because he can't transfer to another body, isn't he? Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, good. You could do a sequel. I'd really like to see a sequel. If we were to remake this, who would you cast as Cushing and Christopher Lee? Are there any modern equivalents that you can think of?
It's really hard because I think we're sort of stuck, similar to that then, where there's only so many British stars which you can
Michael Fassbender.
Yeah,
I do Fassbender and everything for me. Fassbender is Christopher Lee,
and Danny Dyer is Peter Cushing.
Perfect. Together at last.
So it's always Cumberbatch is like the go.
Cumberbatch should be good.
Cumberbatch and Fassbender.
Get him in.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. There we are. And who would be Telly Savalas?
Well, it'd be
Telly
CGI Telly Savalas.
Well, CGI Telly Savalas.
Exactly.
Amazing.
You cannot.
You can't replicate that.
What you could do, you could get Ross Kemp on set and then just use deep fake to replace the face.
I know. I tell you who would be good, and that is Philip Mitchell. I think he'd be very good as doing a Telly Savalas. What's his name in real life? And I'd have him dressed as a pirate.
Steve McFadden.
Steve McFadden would be amazing. He would be amazing as a Cossack. Hang on, when did Telly Savalas die? Let's have a look, shall we? 1994.
Really? That's quite late, isn't it?
Yeah. 72.
It's amazing, is it, when certain people become incredibly famous for a short period of time.
Yeah.
And they really encapsulate an era, don't they?
Oh, he was incredibly famous as Kojak, wasn't he? Born the same year as Christopher Lee, so they were both 50 at this point.
I've never seen him.
Wow.
I've never seen an episode of Kojak.
I don't think I have, really, to be honest.
I did when I was a kid. Who loves your baby, lollipops, and all of that business.
Yeah.
And all I know is that the one of the mad things that's just stayed with me forever is there's a really brilliant documentary all about the making of the 1979 Superman, the Richard Donner Superman with Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
And it's a brilliant doc. It's so much good stuff in it. But one of the gems from it is they say that the script for that, which became Superman 1 and 2, the first draft was done by Mario Puzo, who did the Godfather.
Yeah.
And like Richard Donner is like, the first draft was crazy. It had so much mad things in it. Like at one moment, Superman flies past Kojak. They were going to have Telly Savalas in it, going, "Who loves you, Superman?" It's like, what? And that statement, like in a parallel universe, that happens. Because that's one of the things I love about original, Superman is 70s New York.
Yeah,
and it's got that. I love anything set in 1970s New York.
Yeah,
and when they obviously shot it all, it still looks grimy 70s New York.
Yeah,
so
post-apocalyptic New York.
Yeah,
very much
Warriors, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
Warriors.
Would we recommend this film?
Yes,
100%.
Yeah, fantastic, brilliant.
Yeah,
glad everyone liked it.
Really good fun.
So, John, what did you give out of 5?
What's been my highest so far? 10 or something like that?
You tried to give something 100 the other day, didn't you?
I would say that this is a good 4 to 4.5 out of 5. I basically have enjoyed everything that we've watched so far, except for reading the rats.
So let me just have a look at your scoring, John. You've given Dracula AD 1972 4.5, Curse of Frankenstein 3, Sapphire and Steel 5, the Rats
really?
The Rats minus 10, The Stone Tape 5, Sonic Rights to Dracula 5.
Okay, 5.
5, there we go.
Yeah, 5 out of 5 again.
James, what would you
It's a very solid 3 for me.
Brilliant.
I enjoyed it.
So it's on par with The Stone Tape for you then?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah. I think so. I'm going to give it a 3 as well.
I think it was more enjoyable than Stone Tape because it's so schmaltzy and kind of pulpy, isn't it? Just very silly.
It's got, as you said, it's got that Spanish European horror feel to it. Which I really enjoyed. I
really enjoyed the music. I thought the production design was good. I really enjoyed the makeup effects. I'd say the first 20 minutes is a bit kind of just until they get on the train, it doesn't really start to move, does it? Because all the stuff in the station and stuff is just a bit doesn't really work technically because you can't hear what people are saying and the actual cinematography doesn't really make much sense. But once they get on the train, like you say, Cleese, they're in within this world then, and they can't leave, and that's when it starts to kind of hang together more as a kind of
and there's a little bit of comedy and stuff at that point, but then it just
the comedy is great.
Yeah.
I think you can. I mean, what I like to do is imagine Peter and Christopher going back to the hotel at the end of the day, somewhere in Spain in the 1970s. Imagine Spain in the 1970s, spending time with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing
in the same bed.
Just amazing! That would be the best experience ever. Can you imagine?
Yeah, but Peter would be crying a lot of the time.
Peter's craing.
Telly Savalas turned up. 2 birds, bird on each arm.
Yeah.
Hey,
Peter, Chris. I love
What's up with this script? What's up with this?
Have you read?
Don't worry, I'll make it up. We'll just turn up. Roll the cameras, baby. Let's go.
Have you read this garbage they've sent me? Oh my God.
now for something horrific. This is where we recommend something which we've seen, listened to, read, or enjoyed since our last podcast. Has anyone got anything to contribute today?
Nope.
Well, I've got one which this is a bit of a cheat from me, but I feel it's legit. It's one that I mentioned before, but I hadn't read yet.
Okay,
and that is the apparition phase by Will McLean. I thought it was going to be good. It's absolutely brilliant.
Oh, fantastic!
As I was reading it, I thought, I can't wait for Ross to read this. He's going to absolutely flip over this.
Oh, brilliant! Look forward to that.
I did the right thing in the fact that I read it in bed quite late at night, which is an excellent time to read books such as this. And it's fantastic. There's one element towards the end that I thought I didn't quite enjoy. But apart from that, absolutely full-on 2 thumbs up recommendation.
Fantastic.
And so I'm looking forward to passing it on to both of you shortly.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Okay.
To read.
I look forward to reading that.
Really, really, I don't want to spoil it at all.
Yeah.
Really good. Really good.
Well, I'm bringing in, I bought the collected volume of Inside Number 9 scripts for the first 3 series.
Yeah.
And they've released it in paperback, but they've also done a special edition collection hardback with all lovely gilt covered stuff. When it first came out, it was 50 quid. And I was like, oh, I really want it, but I'm not going to spend 50 quid on it.
And now you've bought it for £5.99.
I got it for £30, which is not too bad.
Right.
Brand
that's
new.
A tenner each.
Yeah. And the season 1, series 1 is signed by Risha Smith and Steve Pemberton as well.
Cool.
That's really good, Cleves. Where did you get that?
Just on Amazon.
Amazon? 30 quid.
Brand new, 30 quid on Amazon. So really good. So I'm reading one of those each night. So one of the most frustrating part of it is just how well written they are. And so the first one is the sardines, where everyone's in the hiding in the wardrobe. Remember that one?
I have seen very little of Inside Number 9. I know it's very good, but I never really get around to watching it.
Okay, well, the first one is everyone, they're at a party, and it's pretty much the whole thing is set inside a wardrobe where it's sardines, so characters keep coming into the wardrobe, and it's just so many jokes slammed into that 25 minutes.
Yeah.
But all the jokes are revealing something about those characters, and as it comes to the end, it all becomes so clear of what the mystery is or what the story behind it all is, and it's quite, macabre and dark, and it's just so well written, and it's like, that's just the first one, and they managed to keep 3 series of the John. If you haven't watched many of these, I really recommend. My favourite one they've done is called Stakeout. It was the last one of the 3rd series. It's probably on iPlayer. Go and watch that one. It's just really good. Really good.
I always think with these guys, like, how the hell do they consistently imagine so much stuff? How do they keep writing so much stuff? Because they've done Psychoville, League of Gentlemen, they've done Inside Number 9, like how they must workshop stuff out all the time, just idea. It's absolutely nuts.
There's a really good podcast they do about it, and they said that often they come to the new series and they're like, all right, okay, they look at the things they didn't do the ones before, and they're like, but then they just have to keep working at it. You know? And
I would just say that the live horror one they did was one of the best executed things.
Oh, I loved
ever.
That. Yeah, that was
genius.
Yeah, because I was turned it off when I thought it went. I actually thought it went wrong.
Yeah,
I was about to turn it off, and I was like, hang on. There's someone in the background. Yeah,
is that the one where they cut? That's the one where they cut to, as if it's a repeat of a previous episode.
Yeah, and then you see see someone in the background.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the magnificent bit of them going, "Well, what's up here?" And he tweeted. Yeah. Can anyone see us?
Yeah.
And it came up on Twitter in live. So I was
and Mark Gatiss replied to them in live.
Yeah. That was all genius. Good. That was fantastic.
And they also did one where one of the it was cool. It was all about someone who comes up with the with crossword clues, and they published the crossword puzzle, which the guy was writing on in the story in the newspaper the following day.
Wow,
no way!
And there was like clues in there to it, and it's just so clever.
Would you put them in charge of Doctor Who?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Charlie Brooker. If I had to pick someone, I'd pick Charlie Brooker in charge of it.
Would you really?
Yeah.
Not now.
No? Why? What's he done?
What's he done?
I think ever since he went onto Netflix, I think he's absolutely lost his edge.
Oh really?
Oh, really?
I don't think any other. I was never a big. We're going off of the General Witchfinders tangent here, but I was never a big fan of Black Mirror anyway. For me, it's science fiction for people who don't want to say they like science fiction,
awesome.
which is what I've always said. But I also appreciate at the same time some very clever ideas in there. I think nothing he's done for Netflix has been anywhere near or as sharp as the Channel 4 stuff. And this is one of the recurring things that you see with Netflix is there is no editor. There's no one in the production going, maybe you shouldn't do that, or have you thought about this? There's no hard edge for them to there's no whetstone to sharpen those ideas against. And Netflix is just saying to them, do it. Just do it. Because that's the same with Ryan Murphy, who's the kind of like American TV producer, who he's the guy behind Glee, Ross, and what have you, and all the rest of it. They signed him up on a multi-million-dollar deal, say, do whatever you want. And virtually everything he's done has not worked.
I loved Hollywood. Did you watch Hollywood?
No.
Oh, I loved that. I cried a lot at the end of that one as well.
Okay. I obviously haven't watched any of these because all I watch is...
Doesn't watch anything in 16:9, do you, John?
Oh, I really try not to, yeah. I mean, oh, God, no. If it's not in 4:3, then it's not for real for me.
There's a t-shirt.
I'm going to get that on a t-shirt. If it's not in 4:3, it's not for real.
Not for me.
Yes.
But Ghost Adventures with Zach Bates.
Yeah, I'm there. Absolutely. Help My House is Haunted. I'm there. Most Haunted. I'm there. Paranormal Lockdown with Nick Groff. I'm there. Not so keen on Portraits to Hell with Jack Osborne though. Yeah, I haven't watched or done anything. Sorry, Cleves.
Tell us about your new camera lens then.
You don't want to put this on the podcast.
We're going to put something in there.
I bought a lens and then I took a picture of a ghost.
There we go. Fantastic.
Right.
Well, thank you very much for joining us on our listening on our 7th episode. We're 7. I'm surprised that John has stuck to it for this amount of time. It was quite hard to get him to do this one because he didn't think he was going to like it, but we managed to push him through and he did like it, so that's good.
But the next one now, we're reading something.
Reading something.
Really looking forward to
reading
this.
something recent as well. So,
reading something recent, a new podcast.
We're going to be reading Never Trust a Rabbit by Jeremy Dyson, talking of the League of Gentlemen previously. So this is a collection of short stories. I'm going to read the whole book, but we're probably only going to cover a few of those stories. But yes, read along if you can, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks for Never Trust a Rabbit.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe. Goodbye.
Happy day.
Love, light, and peace.
You have been listening to The General Witchfinders. Support the show and continue the conversation at patreon.com/General Witchfinders. Subscribe and spread the word at generalwitchfinders.com. Farewell, and don't have nightmares.
Oh, I was talking to a friend I work with, and he had a Black Sabbath t-shirt on, and someone asked him about it, and he said, I was at the last ever Black Sabbath gig in Birmingham. Yeah. And he said, we had to stand near the lighting bit and he said, I was a bit pissed off that we were at the back and stuff. And he was standing there, and he said, I looked to her side, and he was going to my mate, Sharon Osbourne, we're standing next to Sharon Osbourne.
No way.
And he goes, say something to her. He goes, I can't do it, grumpy. And then she fucked off. And then, looked at her mate, Kelly Osbourne was standing next to him.
No way.
Watched that for a bit. She fucked off. Next to it was Jack Osbourne. So all of them, got to stand next to all of them watching Ozzy Osbourne's last Birmingham performance.
No way. Where was that? In the NEC?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was.
Saw the Fugees in there, 1997.
I did not know you saw the Fugees, John.
James. What a gig. What a gig. Half full NEC. But
what's good is when we saw Ian Brown supporting the Manic Street Preachers.
The Manics.
And someone chucked
threw cabbage at him. No, it wasn't as good as that.
And he tried to do something through on them.
COVID denier.
And they couldn't get him. Yeah. Don't start me on that. It's horrific, isn't it? It's like all of my heroes have been pitched up just to be destroyed, like the Wicker Man, like Morrissey destroyed, Ian Brown destroyed. At least Liam Gallagher, he's keeping it real.
He is.
He took them at Manchester City, and that's literally about it. That's fine by me. I hate Manchester City, but at least he's real. He is for
He's not
real.
a monster.
He's not a monster. He's British. He's not a monster.
A monster.